Dear Octoberpod, when I was in high school I used to live with my mom in an old farmhouse. It was built in 1867. It was old as fuck and creepy. It wasn't a huge house, but it seemed big on the inside because of the high ceilings. Everything was made of wood, so you're always hearing creaking noises and timbers settling. We didn't farm, we just lived in the farmhouse. So there was all this empty, unused farmland all around us. And the closest neighbor was easily a 5-minute drive down an old country road. My mom was a nurse, so she was always away working a night shift. This left me home all by myself most nights. One night I was home alone during a rainstorm. We still had rabbit ears out there in the middle of nowhere, so we couldn't get any channels on the TV during bad weather. We had just gotten a Nintendo and I was up late playing Contra. Sometime after 2 in the morning, I started to hear scratching noises outside the house. We had cats and dogs at the time, and there were always other animals about causing trouble. I just figured it was one of the cats or a raccoon or something messing around in the porch. Like I said, we were used to that sort of thing, so it didn't alarm me. Well, I dozed off on the couch after getting stuck on one of the levels of Contra. I died like 1,000,000 times. When I woke up around 4 in the morning, I got up and started turning off the lights and getting ready for bed. I went to the kitchen to get myself a glass of water and looked out the window above the sink. Through the window, I had a clear view of the old shed we used to store the lawnmower and some other junk. There was a big dusk-to-dawn light mounted above the door of the shed. Standing under that light was something that looked to me like a gorilla. It was still pouring down rain and its fur was soaked with water. It was holding something. I stared at it for a full minute without turning off the kitchen tap. Then I realized it wasn't a gorilla. It was a person wearing a gorilla suit. The thing it was holding was a machete. Well, I just about pissed my pants right there. I rubbed my eyes, and when I opened my eyes, the man in the gorilla suit was gone. That dusk-to-dawn light was so bright that it lit up most of the front yard. So there's no way this guy could have ducked out of the light in the second or two I had my eyes closed. So I figured I had just imagined it and went to bed. I know, stupid, right? I slept with all the lights on in my room. When I saw Mom the next morning, she asked me what had happened last night. She said that a bear or something had carved up the house. I went outside, and sure enough, there were scratch marks and cuts on the outside of the house. Mom had written it off as a bear or something, and I would have too. But on the back porch, right near the door, someone had carved the word INGAGI. I looked it up. In some African languages, it's supposed to mean gorilla. We filed a police report, but they never found out who did it. So, my story is a little weird, mainly because, in a way, it's haunted me since I was a little girl. And I only recently found that final piece to the puzzle that makes it extra creepy. Cameron, my current boyfriend, is someone I've known all my life. His parents and my parents were friends who would offer to trade babysitting duties. Playdates and sleepovers were common for us during elementary school. When I was 7, my family was super poor. My dad worked swing shift, and my mom had to work 2 jobs to make ends meet. There was often no one around to watch me, so that meant lots of nights sleeping at Cameron's house. I remember that I would always beg his parents to let us sleep in their room. They never let us, But I remember many nights we'd get up in the middle of the night and drag our sleeping bags into the hall so we could sleep outside their door. Cameron didn't care one way or the other, but I remember always wanting to be as close to the grown-ups as I could whenever I was in that house at night. I'd always have the most effed up nightmares. Now, I'm not someone who normally remembers her dreams, but those nightmares have stuck with me for 20 years. In one of the nightmares, I was hiding in a laundry basket, a common occurrence for me back then, and it was totally dark in the room, save for a sliver of light coming from the hall bathroom. This is important later. I remember being totally alone and completely terrified, but I didn't remember why. I remember trying to run away, but I couldn't because I felt stuck. All I knew was there was something grotesque waiting for me in the bathroom. My dream self never opened the bathroom door, but I kept seeing the flashes of a decaying old woman that scared the shit out of me. After having that nightmare, I'd never used the hall bathroom in Cameron's house, the one across from his parents' room. I remember sometimes I'd wait until Mom came to pick me up to use the potty. Well, years passed. Cameron and I grew apart until we met up again in college and started dating. Cameron's parents retired and started taking lots of trips. Cameron and I share a small apartment in the city, and we always jump at opportunities to drive out to his big childhood home to house sit for his parents while they're traveling, sometimes for weeks at a time. 2 or 3 years ago, I was house sitting for Cameron's parents. Cameron was at work, so I was just there alone with my dog. We were watching TV alone in the living room, and I heard a door slam upstairs. So I went up to see what was going on. Every door upstairs was open, except the one to the hall bathroom. I opened the bathroom door, don't ask me why, and turned on the light, along with just about every other light upstairs. I went back down to the living room and heard the door slam again. I was a little freaked out, but I tried to tell myself the noise might be something outside, maybe the neighbors. So I kind of ignored it. But then the radio in the living room came on, extremely loud. It was playing that song Dead by They Might Be Giants. I switched off the radio and checked to make sure there wasn't an alarm on it or anything set. Then the bathroom door slammed again. Remember, this is the second time I heard it slam, after the one time I went upstairs to open it. So if it slammed once before, shouldn't it already be closed? This time, I took my dog upstairs with me because I needed some backup. When I got to the top of the stairs, I saw that most of the lights I'd turned on were now off, except for the bathroom. All the doors, which had been open last time, were now closed, except for the bathroom. Then, without warning, the bathroom light flicked back on. I say flicked because I heard the movement of the light switch. At about that point, my dog wriggled out of my arms and ran back downstairs. Now, what I did next was stupid. I don't know why I did it, but something compelled me to go up and turn the bathroom light back on. Believe me, I did this very quickly because I couldn't bear to even get my whole body into the doorway. When I switched the light back off, two things seemed to happen all at once. The first thing was the radio. It came streaming back to life, even louder than before, if that's possible. And it was playing the same song again, Dead by They Might Be Giants. The second thing was the mirror. When I switched the light off and the radio came back on, I jumped and ran back downstairs. But as I turned away from the bathroom, the light switched on again, and I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the mirror. Except I didn't see my reflection at all. I saw the reflection of the old woman from my nightmare. Her reflection didn't appear to be standing where I was standing. She was standing somewhere over my shoulder. Except remember, I couldn't see my own reflection at all. I was so scared that I left the house to stay the night with my sister. I even left the radio playing, and I called my boyfriend in a panic. I was in tears and asked him if anyone had ever died in that house. Cameron said that's strange because he was just talking to his dad a couple of weeks earlier, and the subject of the house's previous tenants came up. His dad had told them that before they lived there, an old lady had died in that hall bathroom. In fact, if it wasn't for that, Cameron's family might not have been able to afford such a large house. Apparently, the caretaker the old lady'd been living with took all of her money and left the body in the bathroom to rot. Cameron said she'd been dead for days before anyone ever found her. I avoid staying in that house alone anymore. The last time I did, I heard the doors slamming, but I didn't stick around long enough to see if the radio came on. I'm now convinced that my childhood nightmare wasn't a dream at all. I believe that I saw the ghost of the old lady, and I just rationally... This happened to my ex-girlfriend. Her name's Courtney, but she likes to be called Court. She's done some hard living, but you'll never fall in love with a gentler soul than her. This story I'm about to tell happened about a year after we broke up, and I've pieced together the whole thing with details I've picked up from mutual friends. Following our breakup, Court had a rough time. She claimed that a stalker was making life miserable. I won't go into all of that, but suffice it to say, Court found herself running away from it all. I always thought the move was temporary, but according to a lot of people, she never meant to return. Court didn't have any family left. Her father was the last to go. Died of a stroke after an earlier, minor stroke paralyzed much of his face. And he left her the family home. The idea of returning to the house she grew up in must have been appealing to her. So she packed everything into her hatchback to start a new life in the wild, rambling hills of West Virginia. Baltimore and West Virginia might not be that far apart on the map, but she may have well have been moving into a different planet. Some nights I lie awake in bed thinking about her making that journey through all those dark and ancient hills, surrounded on either side by black, impenetrable wilderness. So solitary, so alone. Court's sweet face illuminated by the light of the dashboard, so lost, so vulnerable. What a grand adventure it must have been for little Court to undertake. Something happened to her during her short stay in the wilderness. Weeks went by during which no one in our circle of friends heard from her, and when she did send out an email or social media post, it was always strange, unsettling. She DM'd our friend Donut one night. Court rented an apartment with Donut during college, and was talking to him about a door she had found in the basement. It was a glass door, like what you'd use for a front door, that opened onto a wall of naked earth. A door to nowhere. Court remained friendly with my sister after our breakup. She called my sister one night and told her she just bought a dog in town, but the dog refused to go in the house without a lot of prodding. Whenever she did get the dog in the house, it would bark at mirrors or at pictures of Court's deceased family members. A portrait of Court's father drove the dog nuts. But no one really knows what happened beyond that. All I can say is that when she returned, she was changed, haunted. When Court got back, she didn't recognize anyone. Literally. Someone had to be speaking before she could figure out who that person was. She said she saw her father's face everywhere. At first, it would be a stranger at the gas station, in Target, in the car next to her at a red light, waiting for coffee at the Starbucks she visits at 8 o'clock each morning. But soon everyone she saw, whether face to face or in a crowd, whether man or woman, child or adult, had her father's face. She stopped going out. She stayed inside with her curtains shut tight. She had groceries delivered to her apartment several days a week. I heard through the grapevine that she saw a gaggle of neurologists and psychologists. They diagnosed her disorder as being psychological, brought on by past trauma involving her father. No comment. And they prescribed her meds and therapy. Ironically, things went downhill after that. I found out from Donut that she'd stopped taking her medication soon after that, and she stopped showing up for work. Food deliveries and Amazon packages started piling up on her front stoop. Her friends got worried and started looking for her. Court's best friend had a key to her apartment and went to check on her. No one had been living there for weeks. A chicken pot pie from Trader Joe's sat uneaten and rotting on the table. All the mirrors in the house had been covered up, or broken, or spray-painted black. Donut and some others went to the cops. About a week later, a call came in saying that Court's car had been found in a ditch about a mile from the house she'd inherited from her father. The car was packed tight with naked earth, but Court was not inside. West Virginia State Police searched the house. No Court, no nothing. Everything was just as Court had left it about 2 months before, with one exception. A glass door in the basement had been ripped off its hinges, uncovering a wall of naked earth. But no Court, no nothing. No one has seen her since, though many have searched. The cops are at a loss to explain her disappearance. Donut has a theory involving a ghost, but he'll only speak of it when he's drunk. P.S. I forgot to mention this earlier. Before she disappeared, I bumped into Court at Trader Joe's, purely by coincidence. Well, we saw each other from a distance. She looked at me with an expression in her eyes I'd never seen before. Love mingled with fear and loss. I thought she recognized me until she called out to me. "Daddy?"
Ghost stories are
They're always scarier.
They're told by the very people who experience them. Hi, I'm Becky.
And I'm Diana.
And we're the hosts of the Homespun Haints podcast.
We talk to people just like you who have come face to face with ghosts, demons, haints, and other strange paranormal phenomena. All of it makes for a chilling good time.
So grab yourself a sweet tea, turn off the lights, and listen to some eerie, true ghost stories on Homespun Haints, wherever you get your podcasts.
I'm not scared. Are you?
What is it that makes us so interested in what we don't understand? We're setting out to investigate everything strange, unusual, and scary in our world.
They're going to be able to scan your brain and upload it to a computer. Some people think of it as like the greatest victory that we could ever have because it makes you immortal in a sense. I think it's terrifying.
It is terrifying. We invite guests who bring their own personal perspectives.
I mean, especially considering the fact that the overwhelming majority of UFO sightings and documentation occurs within miles of nuclear testing facilities.
Yeah. They bring their own encounters with the paranormal.
All of a sudden, I feel this whoosh of wind and this ringing in my ear so loud that makes me stand up straight. And we both had this moment of, maybe we should get out of here.
It was a hot summer day and a hot night, but when I went into this one room, it was freezing. And to this day, it felt like somebody was going to push me down the stairs.
A few months into living at the new house, I was woken up to the lamps being on and the snow globe music box going off.
Hello. And most of all, we just have a ton of fun.
Jacques would never eat, not a single bite, just sip from his glass of wine.
He was a vampire. He was a vampire.
100% a vampire, holy buckets.
My name is Ashley, and this is my co-host Lauren.
Hello, weirdos.
And you are listening to Keep It Weird.
I'm Edward October. For more true, true-ish, and classic tales of horror and the paranormal, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Be sure to ring the bell so you don't miss anything. Or find all of our links at octoberpodvhs.com. Octoberpod, retro horror for bold individualists.